Hi, today I'm going to show you how to knit this beautiful Christmas sweater, part 2. Let's get started. Okay, first of all, please check my description box for all the details. I put the link below so you can go there and download my written pattern. Again, this is the part 2 video, just knitting. I'm not talking about why, my cast on number is this and that, because you should watch part 1 video to make your own pattern. Okay? So this video just talking about how to knit, method and all that. Okay, so let's start. First of all, cast on. I made 120 plus 1 extra. Okay, my cast on should be 120, but I'm gonna lose 1 stitch to connect, so I made 1 extra. Okay, there you go. So the rib should be 1 by 1 ribbon, knit 1 and purl 1, and just repeat. But before I start knitting rib, I am going to connect. Then I am going to lose 1 stitch there, slide 1 stitch purlwise, and pass the behind stitch over. There you go, like that. And now it's connect. Before you doing this, make sure the casts are not twisted. Okay, and I put the beginning marker and start making 1 by 1 ribbon, which is repeat off, knit 1 and purl 1. You have to be very careful on first row, because from the second row you just have to knit over knit stitch and purl over purl stitch. So if you make a mistake here, you ruin your ribbon. Okay, so you just knit rib until your desired length. I knitted it about 4" because I want to fold inward and make the double neck rib. Okay, so there we go. I knitted it about 4" and I actually removed the begin marker because it's easier to do that. See, 4" and I am going to fold neck rib inward. Okay, there we go. And then I connect both edge, so make it nice double neck. So obviously the first stitch is knit, the wrong side should be purl, and you go straight down and pick the last stitch like that. Last stitch, which means your cast on stitch. And then put the stitch onto left needle, then knit two together. So the first stitch and the stitch from the bottom, knit two together. And then, next purl, so wrong side should be knit, and just go straight down, pick up the stitch and knit two together to connect. Okay, there you go, that's it. As you can see, it's all connected, and look at that beautiful edge. Now I changed the needle from 4mm to 5mm because now I'm going to start knitting body part. By the way, as you can see, I started with the 24 inches for my neck opening, but it shrank a bit, okay, because 2 by 2 ribbon, also one size smaller needle. Okay, so you have to consider about that. Now, I want you to split in half, okay? Where you have the begin marker is right there. That's the center of your back piece. Okay, so I want you to count evenly and put 2 side markers like that. I have 120 total divided by 2 is 60. So the bottom part is back, top part is front. So from the begin marker, count 30 and for both sides and put the marker. The reason why I split in half, that's because I am going to knit only back piece for a little while. Okay? I am going to add few more rows only for back piece. Can I actually show you my old sweater? I knitted it. Okay? So, as you can see, the front neckline is lower than back piece. Another word, back piece is higher than front piece, right? Why? Because I added more rows for only back piece. However, it's kind of U shape. If I actually, knit same rows in the center and side, it's going to be square. But, go back and forth, and towards to the side marker, more less and less. Okay, I will show you later, so don't worry about it. Okay, so it's going to be knitting in flat for a little while. Okay, and with this blue sweater, I use the technique called Japanese short row. It's quite easy for beginner, knitters. But this time I'm going to use German short row. German short row, it's easy. It's seriously easy. However, sometimes for beginner, you get confused. Okay, but I'll try to explain. Anyway, so first of all, you have to decide how many rows you want to increase for the back of your, neck. Okay? And this number has to be even number. And I decide I want to increase 10 rows because 10 rows for me is about inch and a half. Also, you have to know your base number for German short row. And how you find out your base number is the back piece stitch count divided by the rows you want to increase. So for me, 60 stitches divide by 10 rows. So 6 is my base number. It's easy number, right? That's why I picked the 10 rows. Anyway, so I am going to knit 6 because that's my base number. So if you have the 8 for base number, you have to knit 8. You know what I'm saying? And then after you knit 6, you turn the work. So now you're facing to wrong side. And you're going to make a purl. And purl 6 after you pass the begin marker. Okay? But if you start making purl like that, you create big gap. Okay? So I try to, avoid that gap with German short row. So the yarn has to be front. Okay? So YF means yarn front. That's actually the rule number 1. And slide one stitch purlwise like that, and then I want you to make two stitch out of one stitch. How to do it? You have to make two stitch out of this sliding stitch. You pull the working yarn towards the back. Can't you see there's the two thread instead of one? That's how you create. There you go. And pull, 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 and coming back because, this is purl on wrong side, right? Then that's one stitch I slide. So there's actually 5 stitch left before the begin marker, right? There you go. So you purl back to begin marker and then purl 6. That's my base number. There you go. Then after you knit purl 6, you turn again. You have to go back and forth because knitting flat. So can you see that's the 2 thread you just create? And sometimes for beginner, it's hard to see which one is which. Anyway, so again, if I start knitting right away, there's a big gap. So again, you have to create the 2 stitch. So again, rule number 1, yarn front. Okay, then slip 1 stitch purlwise and then make double stitch out of 1 stitch. Okay, how to do it? Pull the working yarn towards the back. See, there's 2 stitch now. Then this is right side, which is knitting. So you just start knitting. Back to the begin marker first. And then now you're going to knit. But first of all, you're going to knit until the double stitch. There you go. That's the one. See? That's the one. Double stitch. Kind of, looks like a yarn over and regular stitch. Those 2 stitch, you have to knit together. There you go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And after you knit together, you knit 6. That's my base number, okay? And turn. And you gotta do the same thing. Okay? So, yarn front, slide 1 stitch, and let's make double stitch. There you go. Pull the working yarn towards the back. And now you have to make a purl, so put the working yarn back front again, and then purl. And go back to the begin marker, making purl, and then start, making purl again after the begin marker. And there's the double stitch this side too, right? So obviously you just knit back and forth, and every time you turn, you create the gap. So you don't want to have that gap, so you make the double stitch. Okay, right here. Don't you think sometimes you might miss, right? That's why I didn't want to use the German short row, but this time you know, you should learn, right? Anyway, that's the double stitch you created earlier, and you just do purl two together. And after purl two together, purl six for me. Purl your base number. Okay? If your base number is 8, you just, purl 8. Okay? So, to create the double stitch, more fabric. So minimize the gap. So yarn front and slip one, and then make double stitch, which means pull the working yarn towards the back. That's the double stitch. And this is right side, which means knitting side. So keep the yarn back and then knit until the begin marker. So again, you just have to go back and forth, back and forth. And whenever you encounter your double stitch, you have to do knit two together on right side, purl two together on wrong side. You know what I'm saying? And every time you knit longer, back and forth, back and forth. So obviously, you knit more rows around that begin marker, and towards to the side, less and less. You know what I'm saying? So you knit kind of U shape. The center, more rows, and side, less rows. That's short row. Okay? So if you want to try the German short row first time, you can actually put the temporary marker so you're never going to miss it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's hard. Or you can actually count, but I don't like counting because, sometimes, I forget the count. So, but if you're getting used to, which one is the double stitch, But again, if you're watching TV while you're knitting, sometimes you miss it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so knit until the double stitch right here. Okay, double stitch. And you just have to do knit two together. Okay? Again, if you don't want to miss it, you put the little, temporary marker any way you want. And then, make sure you have to, knit two together. Otherwise, you're creating extra stitch. Okay? So you got to be careful. And then knit 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you just have to repeat row number 3 and row number 4 back and forth until you hit the side marker. Now I'm making double stitch out of one stitch. Okay, so to create the double stitch, the key is you have to have working yarn front. So when you slide the stitch, keep the working yarn front. Okay? Then pull the working yarn towards the back to create the double stitch. Okay? I don't know which is easier, a Japanese short row or German short row. I don't know. It's hard to say, but to explain, maybe Japanese row is easier. I don't know, but You can actually use whichever you want. I'm going to put the link below for Japanese short row. So if you've never done it, you watch that video and pick whatever you like, whichever. Okay? So here comes soon. There you go. That's the double stitch. Then purl two together. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you kind of miss those double stitch, so you kind of have to focus. And purl six, then turn. And this is right side, but keep the working yarn front, slide one stitch, then make double stitch by pulling the working yarn. And now this is knitting side, so keep the yarn back, then start knitting. Okay? So you just go back and forth, back and forth. Again, if you're knitting, every time you turn around in between the project, you create the gap, because the row count is change, right? So that gap, if you don't do nothing, there's a tiny bit of the gap there. So a lot of people don't like it. That's why create the one extra stitch and then decrease. So you can kind of, avoid that little gap. Okay? So here comes the double stitch right here. Okay? Knit two together, then knit six. Again, you have to, knit back and forth until you hit the side marker. Okay? There you go. So I'm gonna actually talk just example. Oh, okay. So you watch video and listen to me. So if you have 58 stitch count for back piece, but you wanna add 10 rows, 58 divided by 10 is 5.8. It's not 6. So what are you gonna do? You can actually still use the 6, and you pass the the probably side marker because you don't have a 60. So you can actually have 60 stitch count for back and little bit less for front, just for the German short row. It's legal. You can do that. You don't have to be so perfect. You know what I'm saying? So, for me, it was easy number. I have a 60 and, I want to increase 10. So it was easy. So, but you know what? It's okay because it's going to be, multiple of 12 cast on number. So it shouldn't be that bad. But, possible. So it doesn't have to be so perfect. If you split pretty much in half, that's okay. Okay, there you go. So there you go. What I'm trying to do is see, it was kind of overwrap the two stitch. So I wasn't quite sure. So I just want to make sure that was the double stitch. Okay. So after the, purl two together or knit two together. Well, this time purl two together, you have to knit another, your base number. There you go. Now I just turn and slide one, then pull to create the double stitch. There you go. It's just kind of illusion, it's one stitch, but when you pull, you create two stitch, So it's not really two stitch, but, it's two stitch. Anyway, I think this is gonna be the last one. So anyway, knit two together and knit six, and I am actually going to hit my side marker. So this is knitting side, right? So when I remove the marker and turn, this is going to be my last German short row. Okay? So just, as is, just keep, making purl until the other side. And here comes, this is gonna be double stitch. There you go. Again, overlap, but this is the one. So purl two together and then purl six until you hit the side marker. And I am going to turn the work. Okay, after you hit the marker, remove it. And I am going to make double stitch here again, but I am not coming back as a purl because from now on I'm going back to knitting in round. Okay, so this side it's a little bit different because I was supposed to come back as a purl, right? So coming back is the other way, in round. So I have to show you how to do. The other side, it's knitting, German short row. So you don't have to worry about anything. Just, keep knitting past the beginning marker and then knit until the, double stitch. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually stopping, just before the beginning marker. And as you already know, okay, the center of the back is more row and side less rows. Okay, now go back to knitting round. Okay, so I have to actually close that gap, to by knit two together, and I'm not turning back. I'm telling you again, we are going back to knit in round. Okay, it's quite simple. And after this, I am going to start increasing and fair isle design. Okay, so you can put the side marker for in case you miss it, but you don't really have to. Okay, so let's keep knitting until first double stitch. And the first one again, simple, just regular German short row, knit two together. KDTOG, that's knit double stitch together. Okay, kind of silly abbreviation that I actually made. Anyway, just keep knitting on right side. And here comes right there. You can actually knit two together there. However, I'll show you. If I just knit two together, there's little gap and I don't like it. So I am actually going to pick up right side of the previous stitch, not the running thread. Okay, previous stitch right side like that, and hook onto left needle and knit three together. Then you can actually avoid the little gap. That's it. And then go back to the begin marker. There we go. That's it. Can't you see there's no gap? It's all closed. And center of the back, more row, and towards to the side, less rows. Okay, because you knit back and forth little by little. And if you don't have that back of the rows, it's going to be like a boat neck. But now you have more rows for the back piece, so it's going to be like that. Isn't it nice? If you don't add, short row, sometimes you feel a little bit choking, around your neck. So if you don't want to put add the more rows with the short row, maybe you should start with much bigger neck opening if you don't like that choking feeling. You know what I'm saying? So let's start increasing. I already talked about the plan in my part 1 video. So my plan is before and in between design, I have to knit 3 rows. And first one, just knit with white. And second row, increasing row with the color yarn, green or red. It's up to you. But I'm using the green yarn this time. And I'm going to knit 4 stitch and then increase 1. And by the way, to start with the different yarn color of yarn, you have to twist. Otherwise, you will have kind of, gap there. So twist it. Make sure there's no, hole. There you go. And you have to leave the white yarn there because I'm using green yarn. My first design is with green. That's why this line I'm using the green. If I use the red, I have to cut the red yarn and all that. So, and you don't have to. You can actually use all white. Anyway, increasing method is make one right. So the using the running thread, hook onto the left needle, and the running thread shifting right. And if you want to use the make one left, that's the position, but this time make one right. So make sure running thread is shifting right, and you have to knit the thread connecting to next stitch. The back, thread is connecting to the previous stitch, so you have to knit front stitch like that. That's make one right. You can use make one left if you want, if you think that's easier, whichever. But if you start increasing with make one left, use make one left whole time. Okay? So again, for me, increasing row number 2, I'm gonna increase 1 stitch every 4 stitch, and increasing row number 3, I'm gonna actually increase, leftover, because I have to increase 36 total, and only increasing 30 stitch on increasing row number 2 for me. And here comes the row number 3. I'm going to use white yarn. So this is the end of row number 2. This is last increasing. So I increased 30, and I need to increase 6 more to make 36 increasing. So 150 divided by 6 is 25. So I am going to increase 1 stitch every 25 stitches. It's up to you. As long as you increase evenly, fine. Also, one more important thing is the design A is multiple of 12. The pattern moves, every 12, stitches. So you have to have stitch count multiple of 12. Okay? So I add markers every 12 stitch. When I'm actually knitting fair isle, I try to put the, markers, because I don't want to ruin the design. One stitch wrong, you ruined everything. Okay, so let's start. The row number 1 for design A, super easy, so I don't really have to tell you anything. However, I'm using both hands to knit. Right hand, white yarn, left hand, green yarn. Okay, so I don't use continental knitting usually, so it's really hard at first, but once you get used to, it's easy. And row number 1, just straightforward. I don't have to explain anything. But starting from the row number 2, I have to actually tell you how to catch the float. But what do you mean by catching the float? Well, if you're knitting fair isle, multiple of color you're using. But if I using the white one, more than 3 stitch, the green ones just resting. You know what I'm saying? That resting yarn becomes float. I have to actually show you at the back. Can you see those little, thread? That's the float. So more resting, longer float. And if there's lots of longer float, you sometimes pull too hard or not enough pulling, and it's kind of ruin your project. If you pull too hard, the project's gonna be little wavy. Okay, so let's do that. Row number 2, 3 white to start. So I am going to catch the float, the 3rd stitch. So now I just actually knit 2 with white, and now I am going to catch the left hand green thread, okay, while you're knitting white. So put the needle in just like usual, and put the green one on top of the right needle like that. Okay? Put the right needle in, and on top of the right needle, put the green thread like that. Then knit with white. Okay? Don't pull the green one. You just actually put the green one on top of the white. That's it. See? And then next is green. You catch the float there. And 4 white, so 1, 2, and third one I am going to catch the green float. So put the needle in on top of it and then knit. So the float stops, right on the third stitch. You know what I'm saying? So now green and white, I still have to tell you, okay, almost end of the 12 stitch pattern. And here, the end was white. But repeat starts again. So 3 white. But you have a white stitch at the end of the previous pattern. So the second stitch you have to catch the float. You know what I'm saying? If you use the same color more than 3 times, every third stitch you should catch the float. Okay? So right now I'm telling you how to catch the right side of the float. I'm sorry, left side of the float, because I'm catching the green one on left side. Okay? And green. No, the last one is white. So there we go. And one more time, white one the end. So this is the second white and third. So I am going to catch the float, put the needle in, green on top of it, and then knit with white. Easy. Okay? The left catching float is actually quite easy. There we go. Green and 4 white, right? So the third one, I have to catch the float, 2, and third one. Put the right needle in, green on top, and then knit. And pull only white one. There you go. That's about it. Also, if you don't like using the both hands to knit the fair isle, you can do that too. Okay, but you have to catch the float to kind of twist 2 yarns. Can you see those float? Quite short, right? You know what I'm saying? If float is long, it's okay, but easy to kind of pull in too hard or too loose. Anyway, row number 3. Now I want to actually tell you how to catch the right hand thread. Okay? Because you have to actually remember both. So the previous row end with white stitch and 2 white to start. So the second one, I have to catch the float. So put the needle in and then knit with white. And now 3 green. So here's the thing. I have to catch the white right side float. Okay, so 1 green and second green. That's normal. And third one, I have to catch the white yarn. Okay, put the needle in. Okay, and now try to kind of knit with white, but you're not knitting. And put the green one on top of it like that and take the white yarn back. Then pull only green one. This is how you catch the float on your right side. Okay, so catch the float from left side, easy. Okay, and there we go. And 2 white, and now 2 white to start. So second one, third one you have to, which is now, catch the float, and second white, and 3 greens come in. Okay, so 1, 2 green, and third one you have to catch the float. Put the needle in, try to kind of knit with white, but you're not knitting. There you go. And put the green one on top of it like that. Okay, prepare. Then take the white one back. And you have a green one on the right needle, so just pull. Okay, and then 4 white, so 1, 2, then 3, you have to catch the green one. Okay, I have to fix it. There you go. So the left catching is quite easy. And 4, and 1 green, 2 white. Then repeat starts. So the first stitch with white is the third one. So catching the float, and second one, and another 3 green. So let's do that. So first 2 stitch with green, just normal. And third one, you're catching the right side of the float. Put the needle in, try to knit with white, but you're not. Okay, and put the green one on top like that. Then yarn back with white one, then pull the green one. You know, you need practice, obviously. You know, maybe, you can't really knit same speed as normal, but I think this is actually at the end, you can save your time quite a bit. Okay, let's see one more. Put the needle, white, green, and white back, and pull the green. That's it. So once you get used to, you can knit so fast. You know what I'm saying? And some people say, well, why don't I switch, hands? But sometimes you have to catch the float from both sides. So, you better practice. Anyway, after I finish design A, again, my plan is I'm going to add 3 rows in between designs, and those within 3 rows I have to increase. You know what I'm saying? And this time I have 156, and I'm going to add 36 because both multiple of 12 stitch, and my the goal increasing every time is 35. You know what I'm saying? So 156 divided by 36 is 4.333. So I'm going to actually increase 1 stitch every 4 stitches, but I have to adjust, stitches 3 times to skip, actually. So I knit the first one with white, no increasing, and next row I am going to knit with red yarn because next design will be red, and increasing on second row. Just what I actually explained. 1 stitch every 4 stitch. 1 increased stitch, I should say, every 4 stitch. Okay? So, which means 156 divided by 4 is 39. If I actually increase 1 stitch every 4, I am going to end up increase 39 stitch. But I want to increase only 36. So difference is 3. So I have to skip increasing 3 times somewhere evenly. So I put the marker, kind of evenly, and, that's the indication of I should skip 3, increase. Then you will increase 36. You know what I'm saying? Again, if you haven't watched my part 1 video, you don't understand what I'm talking about. So you better go and watch. There's the link below. Anyway, so I'm actually attaching the red yarn and twist at the very beginning. Otherwise, you will create the hole there. And knit 4 with red, and I'm going to increase with make 1 right. I already told you how to do, so I'm not gonna talk about it. So there you go again. Full stitch, then increase 1. And do you remember I put the marker indication of you have to skip the increasing. So around there, knit and 4. This is 4, and I'm supposed to increase, but I skip. And I'm not going to tell you why, because I already told you. So you don't really have to be perfect, as long as you increase kind of evenly. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to increase everything first 36 stitch or something like that, because otherwise your shape of the sweater kind of, weird. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, you have to follow the pattern you make, okay? And I meet you end of your yoke, okay? My yoke, which is after 5 designs. Then we have to separate the sleeves. There you go. I just actually finished design E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. That's it. And after the last design, I am going to increase more, because my goal stitch count is 330. But I only have 300. So I'm going to add 30 stitch more, which is 300 divided by 30 is 10. So I am going to increase 1 stitch every 10 stitch. Easy this time. Then the second row, the first row, you just knit, okay, with white. And second row, I increase with green yarn. And third row, I don't have to adjust or anything, so knit with white. I told you I am going to add 3 rows in between and the beginning and ending. Then becomes 70, actually 71 row, but 72 rows, close to my goal row count anyway. And again, I already talked about it. So if you have no clue what I'm talking about, please go to the part 1 video. You need to make your own plan, because I don't know which size you want to knit. This is complete customized. I'm giving you all kinds of the hint, tips, but you have to make your own kind of pattern, design. Well, design, no, I given you design, but you have to kind of puzzle and customize. Anyway, I'm actually attaching the green yarn, which means I already finished, first row of increasing. And second row with green yarn, I am going to increase. And this is really up to you. You know, in between design, you can actually use only white yarn or color yarn, red or green. It doesn't really matter. It's all yours. You can decide. But I thought this way, more design is more visible, so I put one line. There you go. I'm actually increasing one stitch every 10 stitches. And the reason why I kept the markers, that's only for counting purpose. 330. I don't want to count, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I just finished last design and increasing. So now I have a 330 stitches, which is my goal. Now I would like to divide by 3 parts. And now it's your final decision time. How you want to divide by 3 parts, which is 2 arms and back and front. Okay? So, well, the final decision, which means this is the time you can adjust the numbers if you want to. And I did. Okay, so refresh your memory. My original plan, okay, was 330 total at the end of the yoke. And my desired sleeve length was 15 inches each side, which is 75 stitches each. And my desired body was 36, which is 180. So 180 plus 75 plus 75 is 330 stitches, which is good. So that's, I should, divide. However, you have to actually think one more thing. Next design is multiple of 18 pattern. So the body stitch count should be multiple of 18. So I don't have to, increase or decrease for, before the next design, right? However, when you connect back and front, after you separate the sleeve, you have to add new stitches, new cast. Okay? So you have to consider those things. Then adjust. You know what I'm saying? I decide I am going to add 8 stitches when I connect back and front, each side. Okay? That's 16 total. 8 stitch right and left each side. So 16 stitches total. So 180 plus 16 is 196, which happened to be multiple of 18. So, I can actually divide as is. Then add 16 stitches total for both, the armpit area. However, I thought about it, 75 stitches for each sleeves are a little bit too big. So why don't I adjust numbers? Give few stitch from arm to body. Again, I change my mind. It's legal. It's not illegal. So you can do it if you want to. So when I actually count and look at the ratio and, 75 stitches too big. Okay, so why don't I, have 65 stitches for my arm, which is 10 stitches left for each, so 20. I'm going to add 20 into my body. You know? And that's actually quite perfect. So 200 without the new cast, but I'm going to add, 8 and 8, total of 16. So 200 plus 16 new cast would be 216, which is multiple of 18. So everything is perfect. Okay? I don't care about my sleeve stitch count because I'm not going to add any design. I only care about the stitch count for body after you're adding new cast. And why I add 8 stitch for each side? That's because it's, about inch and a half, worth. If you don't want to, you don't have to add any new cast because, the body itself is, big enough anyway. Or if you decide, okay, I want to actually make more bigger, you can add more. But, as long as you have certain stitch count, which is multiple of 18. Okay? So, this is kind of last chance to, change. Again, if you don't want to add any new cast underneath of your, armpit, fine. But I recommend you to do. And when you add new cast, should be even number. That's only for the sleeve, purpose, that in between those new cast, you will ended up having the begin marker in mid of the new cast. So if it's 9, you have to divide by 5 and 4. So it's okay, but it's easy for you. Anyway, so let's separate the sleeves from the yoke. It's super easy. Just knit until your first sleeve. If you want, you can add marker to make sure this is the time, you have to separate the sleeve, blah, blah, blah. It's up to you. But just knit until your first sleeve. Remove the marker. And with the tapestry needle and scrap yarn, transfer all the sleeve stitch. Use the long enough scrap yarn because after you separate the sleeves, you want to try them on. I always do. So if you actually use the very short scrap yarn, it's hard to put it on. There we go. It's done. And I tied the knot so I don't have to lose, There you go. I usually use quite long scrap yarn. There you go. That's the sleeve stitches. Okay? So now I'm going to start knitting front piece. And this is the place you're going to add new cast. And for me, 8 stitches should be even number, I said, because in the center of new cast would be new begin for your sleeve. So, and 8 stitches about not even 1 inch, inch and a half. It's about inch, I believe. and then start knitting the front piece. And you do exactly same thing for the other side and finish this row. There we go. I separate sleeves from the yoke. So now you have 3 parts, 2 arms and 1 body. There we go. And new cast area, looks loose, but don't worry. Once you start knitting more rows, it's not going to be too loose. Okay, so just knit body first. Again, I am going to add design F and G. Okay, the snowman and house. And in between the designs, I'm adding just 3 rows. No more increasing. If you want to increase, fine, you can do that too. It's your sweater. And sometimes, 2 design is not long enough, then you can add other design, or you can repeat designs. It's up to you. Okay, it's 18 stitches and 21 row, and my gauge 24 rows with an 4-inch, so about 8-inch I knit after I separate the sleeves. You know what I'm saying? So this is long enough for me. Then I change the needle down to 4mm and then start making rib. And by the way, for the rib, I use the white color. And every time I start making rib, I knit 1 round with the same color. So in other words, I'm making 1 by 1 rib with the white yarn. So I don't finish with red or green yarn, because if you can see the little tub, So knit white 1 round and then start making rib with white yarn. Okay, and then bind off with the 1 size bigger needle, so gives you more stretchy bind off. I don't like very tight ending, so you can actually use 1 size bigger. More fabric means more room to stretch. You know what I'm saying? There we go. This is done. So when you pull, there we go. That's how much you can stretch. Beautiful. I love it. Okay? And I already knit the other side of the sleeve. I told you I didn't want to add design F and G for the sleeves. The reason is it's going to be too busy. Also, I'm pretty much out of the red yarn, So this way, I don't really have to consume the red yarn. Okay, I use the 1 skein of the red, and I didn't actually decrease for the sleeve because I want to make kind of balloon like sleeve, chunky fat, So it was quite easy. Just knit 5 rows and change the color. And on every 3rd row, I add little design, little dot. And I actually knit, until enough length. And to make the balloon sleeve, I decrease in half and then add 1 by 1 ribbon. So I don't really have to explain, how to knit, but I have to explain how to connect without big gap. Okay? So first of all, transfer all the sleeve stitch onto the needle, which is 5 millimeter, obviously. Okay. And I add one marker, okay, just before the last original stitch. And I am going to add two more. Okay, one is the beginning marker in the center of new cast, and the other one is the last one is the one stitch before the last new cast. And you probably don't understand, but I'll show you. Okay, first of all, if I start knitting right on the new cast, there's gotta be big gap in between. Yeah, right there. So what I do is I am going to knit two extra up right there before and after the new cast. And then next row, I am going to decrease because I increase, two extra each side. So I have to decrease two stitch there. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's like a short row. If you want to, minimize the gap, the best way is create the extra and then decrease. Okay, so it's a running thread, but if you pick the one running thread, you're gonna create the gap anyway. So you have to grab other stitch like that. Make sure you're not, grabbing wrong thread. Well, any thread is okay as long as you are not creating big gap. So one, and then maybe side stitch, and then there you go. And now you're going to knit up right on top of the new cast. Okay, so I add 8, right? So I'm going to knit up 8, but after fourth knit up, I am going to add begin marker. Fourth means, new cast without the two extra. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, don't even think about two extra. So 4 stitch out of 8, I put the begin marker, and I'm going to knit up 4 on top of a new cast, right? But before the last knit up, I'm going to add one more marker. So those two marker, besides the begin marker, that's only indication of you have to decrease. You know what I'm saying? I said increase 2 extra to pick up, and next row you have to decrease those extra. So this is the last new cast. You always decrease with original stitch. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm going to knit up third and fourth extra again with maybe side stitch. You kind of have to look, okay, is this good enough, or you creating the big gap anyway, There we go. This is fourth extra. And you start knitting until the other side of the marker. I said that those two markers are indication of decreasing those extra. And when you decrease, one is extra stitch and one is the original stitch. You know what I'm saying? So the first decreasing should be the last original stitch and first extra. There you go. I kind of mixed up something. So I'm fixing, yeah. I guess, okay. I'm redo the false extra knit up and start knitting. Anyway, once you hit the marker, okay, behind the marker, that's last original stitch and first extra, you do SSK to decrease one stitch. Slip, slip, knit. So the first extra stitch is down. Okay, and next is second extra stitch and first knit up stitch on top of the new cast, and you do knit two together to second extra stitch down. This way you can minimize the gap. Can you see? There's no gap there. But if you picking up the wrong stitch, still little bit gap. So you gotta be careful. But you know, if it's little, don't worry about it. And knit until next marker. There you go. I'm actually dropped the one stitch off there. I mixed up here. So I'm fixing right now. Just 1 second. Yeah, the dropping the stitch around here is actually very bad. Anyway, so I knit 5, 6, 7 stitch, and now last new cast and third extra you have to do SSK to decrease one stitch. So this is third extra stitches down, and after this fourth extra and first original stitch knitted together. There you go. This is done. Your connection is done, and knit until the begin marker. Okay, and then sleeve kicks in. Again, this is your customized sweater. If you want to decrease your sleeve, I put the link in my description box, so you can actually go and watch how do you taper off, you know, towards to the wrist. Okay, so again, for me, this is the chart, and change the color how you ever you want. Okay, me, green, white, and red, and you know, white until your desired length. There we go. And now I am going to decrease. Okay, I have a 65 stitches or 64, I don't remember. But I, you know, decrease in half. Okay, so let's say if I have 36 stitches now and divided by 2 is 32. You have to know 32 stitches big enough for your wrist. You know what I'm saying? So if that's too small, you shouldn't decrease in half. So maybe you can knit one and knit two together and just repeat knit one and knit two together, or knit two together, or anything. Knit one and knit two together twice, and knit one and knit two together twice. You know, however you like, you know, depend on how many stitch you want to decrease. For me, I want to cut in, you know, decrease in half. So the balloon sleeve is more visible. Okay, so after this, add 1 by 1 ribbon, just like, you know, the body rib, and then bind off. That's about it. Okay? So this is done. Double neck rib and German short row to raise the back piece, which is really nice, the U shape. Okay? So you don't have any choking feeling. And design A to E. That's my yoke and body. Then balloon sleeve I just knit, and now longer wrist so you can fold it if you want. Okay, that's about it. And the inside of the sweater, there's no long float. Well, to be honest, there's here and there. I forgot to catch the float. Think about it. If you have those long float everywhere, don't you think it's kind of, hard to wear, and, sometimes, caught it, right? So this is wonderful. Every third, stitch, you can actually catch the float. Anyway, that's about it. It took about, 2 weeks for me because, the filming and all that, right? So if you, knit fast enough, maybe 10 days. Okay? So thank you very much for watching. And if you have any question, let me know in the comment section. All right? So enjoy knitting and bye for now.